Welcome back to the channel everyone, and thank you for joining us today where we dive deep into the hidden stories of everyday coins that could be worth life-changing money. And today we are exploring one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in modern American coin collecting, the 1988 D Washington quarter dollar that many experts and collectors believe could be worth as much as $17 million due to a perfect storm of rare minting errors, overlooked production mistakes, unusual metal composition possibilities, and extraordinary historical circumstances. A coin that on the surface looks completely ordinary yet may secretly be one of the most valuable quarters ever struck. And as we begin this journey, it is important to understand that the true magic of rare coins often lies not in how they were meant to be made but in how they accidentally came into existence. Because the United States Mint, despite its advanced technology, is still a human-operated system, where errors can and do happen, and when those errors align in just the right way they can transform a simple 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So let us imagine for a moment the year 1988 at the Denver Mint, where millions upon millions of quarters were produced for everyday circulation, each intended to be identical, each intended to pass through countless hands without a second thought. Yet within this massive production run, certain coins may have slipped through with astonishing defects, and it is these defects that form the foundation of the $17 million valuation story, beginning with the possibility of a wrong planchet error, one of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes in coin minting, where a quarter design is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different metal entirely, such as a silver planchet, a foreign coin blank, or an experimental alloy blank that was never meant to enter circulation. And if a 1988 D quarter were struck on a 90% silver planchet similar to pre-1965 quarters, or on a transitional experimental alloy tested quietly by the Mint, the intrinsic and numismatic value would skyrocket instantly, especially if the composition could be scientifically verified through non-destructive testing, making such a coin not just rare but unique. And uniqueness is one of the most powerful drivers of value in the coin collecting world, especially when combined with clear documentation and professional grading. And beyond wrong planchet errors, there is the intriguing possibility of a dramatic double die obverse or reverse error, where the coin design was impressed onto the die multiple times at slightly different angles, resulting in strong doubling on inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1988 itself. And while minor doubling is common and often worthless, a bold and dramatic double die visible to the naked eye and confirmed under magnification can command enormous premiums, particularly if it is the only known example from that year and mint. And even more fascinating is the idea of a triple die or quadruple die event, an almost unheard of scenario that would push the coin into legendary status. And then there are off-metal strike possibilities, where the quarter design was struck on a copper penny planchet, a nickel planchet, or even a blank intended for another country's coinage, which would result in incorrect weight, diameter, and edge characteristics, all of which would be instantly noticeable to an experienced collector and highly desirable. And when we talk about the 1988 D quarter potentially reaching a value of $17 million, we must also consider extreme mint errors like a full blockage, where one coin becomes stuck to a die and impresses its reversed image onto the next blank, creating a mirror-like ghost image that is both visually stunning and incredibly rare, especially when preserved in high-grade condition. And another spectacular error possibility is a double denomination strike, where a coin is struck as one denomination and then struck again as another, for example a quarter struck over a previously struck dime or foreign coin, creating overlapping designs that tell a complex and fascinating story of minting chaos. And these kinds of errors are not only rare but historically significant because they reveal internal failures in mint quality control, making them highly sought after by advanced collectors and museums alike. And speaking of museums, institutional demand plays a huge role in extreme coin valuations, because when a coin is so rare that only one or two examples exist, competition shifts from individual collectors to wealthy institutions, private foundations, and elite numismatic investors who view such coins as cultural artifacts rather than mere collectibles. And this is where values can leap from thousands or even hundreds of thousands into the multi-million-dollar range, especially if the coin is accompanied by a compelling story, solid provenance, and third-party authentication from respected grading services. And the 1988 D quarter story becomes even more compelling when we consider the possibility of a missing mint mark combined with other errors, because while Denver Mint quarters should carry a clear D Mint mark, there have been documented cases of grease-filled dies or damaged punches resulting in missing or malformed mint marks, and if such an error occurred alongside a double die or wrong planchet strike, the combined rarity would be exponential rather than additive, meaning the coin would be far rarer than the sum of its individual errors, and in numismatics rarity multiplied by demand equals extraordinary value. And another key factor is condition, because error coins often survive in poor condition due to their circulation. But if a dramatic error 1988 D quarter were discovered in near-perfect mint state condition, with sharp details, original luster, and minimal contact marks, its value would be magnified many times over, as collectors are willing to pay enormous premiums for error coins that look as if they were struck yesterday. And then there is the mysterious possibility of transitional errors, which occur when the mint is changing designs, compositions, or processes. And while 1988 is not widely known as a major transition year, internal experiments and test strikes are often conducted quietly years before official changes are announced, and if a small batch of experimental planchets or dies were accidentally used to strike quarters for circulation, the resulting coins would be virtually impossible to replicate and nearly impossible to trace, making any discovered example a once-in-a-lifetime find. And when you combine that with the Denver Mint's high output and the chaos of mass production, it becomes entirely plausible that a few extraordinary mistakes slipped through unnoticed, and the story grows even more intriguing when we consider the role of metallurgical anomalies, such as incorrect alloy ratios, contamination with precious metals, or bonding errors in clad layers, where the copper core and nickel outer layers separate or fuse improperly, resulting in unusual color, weight, and magnetic properties. And such anomalies can only be fully appreciated through advanced testing, which adds an element of scientific mystery that appeals strongly to high-end collectors, and beyond physical errors there is also the psychological factor of discovery, because the most valuable coins are often those found unexpectedly by ordinary people, in pocket change, old jars, inherited collections, or estate sales, and the narrative of a humble 1988 D quarter turning out to be worth $17 million captures the imagination of the public, driving media attention, viral interest, and increased demand, all of which further inflate value. And it is important to understand that coin values at this level are not determined by price guides or past auction results alone, but by private negotiations between elite buyers who are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the right piece, especially if it fills a missing gap in a world-class collection. And the Washington Quarter Series is one of the most widely collected in American numismatics, meaning that any coin which fundamentally disrupts the known catalog of varieties instantly becomes legendary, and legends command prices far beyond normal market logic. And we must also consider the role of authentication and controversy, because some of the most expensive coins in history gained their value through intense debate over their legitimacy, which paradoxically increased their fame and desirability. And a disputed but authenticated 1988 D quarter with unprecedented errors would likely spark years of discussion, research papers, and media coverage, all of which would cement its status as a numismatic icon. And icons are priceless. And while $17 million may sound unbelievable for a modern quarter, history has shown us time and again that rarity, story, and desire can push coin values to unimaginable heights, from the 1933 Double Eagle to unique error cents and nickels that sold for millions. And the 1988 D quarter, under the right circumstances, could join that elite group, serving as a reminder that even in our modern age of technology and automation, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes create treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently in change drawers and collections for someone curious enough to look closely, weigh carefully, measure precisely, and ask the question that changes everything: could this ordinary coin be extraordinary? And that is why we encourage everyone watching to examine their coins, learn the signs of errors. Next, 2019 1 cent, today on this channel, where ordinary coins hide extraordinary secrets, where everyday pocket change turns into mind-blowing stories, and where history, curiosity, and wealth come together in the most unexpected ways. So thank you for being here, thank you for your continued support, and thank you for sharing your time with us, because today we are diving into one of the most astonishing modern coin stories ever discussed, the unbelievable idea that a 2019 1 cent coin, a penny, most people would ignore, spend, or lose without a second thought, could be worth as much as $11 million due to a rare and powerful combination of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, production quirks, and extraordinary possibilities that transform a simple cent into a legendary numismatic treasure. And as we go deep into this topic, understand that this is not just a story about a single coin but a story about how value is created, how imperfection can outperform perfection, and how a tiny piece of metal can capture the imagination of collectors, investors, historians, and everyday people all around the world, because the 2019 1 cent exists at the crossroads of modern minting technology and the timeless truth that no system is ever truly flawless, and it is exactly in that narrow space between precision and error that million-dollar coins are born. So let us first place ourselves in the year 2019, a time when the United States Mint was operating with some of the most advanced coin-producing technology in its entire history, striking billions of Lincoln cents across facilities like Philadelphia and Denver using high-speed automated presses, laser-engraved hubs, digitally monitored tolerances, and rigorous quality control systems designed to eliminate mistakes before they ever reached circulation. Yet despite all of this technology, the sheer volume of coins produced means that errors are not only possible but inevitable, because when machines run at extreme speeds and humans oversee complex processes, even a split-second malfunction, a microscopic misalignment, or a single contaminated blank can create something extraordinary, and the legendary value associated with a 2019 penny begins with this fundamental reality, because the rarer the error in a modern system designed to prevent errors, the more valuable that error becomes. And one of the most powerful possibilities behind an $11 million valuation is the existence of a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a penny design is struck onto a blank intended for a completely different coin or metal, and in 2019 the Mint was simultaneously producing cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and even experimental and commemorative pieces, all of which required different metal compositions and planchet sizes, and if a Lincoln cent die struck a planchet meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental alloy, the resulting coin would instantly become a major numismatic anomaly, especially if the metal composition was confirmed through professional metallurgical testing, because a cent struck on a copper, nickel, or silver-based planchet would display different weight, thickness, color, and electromagnetic properties, and collectors place enormous value on coins that should not exist according to official mint specifications, because they represent undeniable proof that something went wrong inside a system designed to prevent exactly that, and the rarity of such an error in the modern era dramatically amplifies its value. And another extraordinary possibility lies in transitional or experimental metal errors, because while the Lincoln cent has used copper-plated zinc for decades, the Mint is constantly researching, testing, and experimenting with alternative materials due to rising production costs. And experimental planchets sometimes exist within Mint facilities, and if even a tiny batch of these blanks were accidentally fed into the cent presses in 2019, a coin struck on such a planchet would instantly become historic, because it would offer physical evidence of undocumented experimentation, and when a coin carries a composition that does not match any officially released standard, collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts to own that piece of hidden history. And then there is the fascinating and highly respected world of double dies, which are among the most valuable and desirable errors in all of numismatics, because true double dies are not caused by movement during striking but by misalignment during the die creation process itself, resulting in permanent doubling that appears rounded, separated, and fully integrated into the design, and a 2019 1 cent with a dramatic double die obverse or reverse would be incredibly rare, because modern digital hubbing processes have significantly reduced the likelihood of such errors. And if doubling were clearly visible on the date, Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or Lincoln's portrait, and if the variety escaped detection early on, the surviving population could be extremely small, possibly even limited to a single example, and when rarity reaches that level, price becomes almost theoretical, because there are no true comparables, and collectors compete not based on guides but on desire and prestige, and the story becomes even more powerful when we consider compound errors, which occur when multiple independent mistakes affect the same coin, something that is statistically extraordinary. And imagine a 2019 penny that combines a double die with a wrong planchet strike and an off-center or broad strike error, resulting in a coin that looks nothing like a standard cent yet remains fully authentic and mint-struck, and such a piece would not only be rare but essentially unique, and uniqueness is the single most powerful driver of value in the collectibles world. Because when there is only one known example, ownership becomes exclusive, and exclusivity attracts ultra-high-end collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to own something no one else can have. And another legendary possibility is the existence of a mule error, one of the rarest and most dramatic mint mistakes of all, where obverse and reverse dies from two completely different coins are accidentally paired together. And while mule errors are extremely rare in modern sense, the few known mule coins in other denominations have proven that such mistakes are possible even in advanced systems, and a confirmed 2019 Lincoln cent mule featuring an incorrect reverse design would instantly become one of the most famous coins ever produced, because it would represent a catastrophic breakdown in die handling procedures, and collectors would not be buying metal or design but the story of how the impossible happened. And then there are striking errors such as off-center strikes, multiple strikes, broad strikes, and partial collar errors, which on their own may be worth modest sums, but when combined with other major anomalies, they become exponentially more valuable, because each additional error multiplies rarity rather than simply adding to it. And a 2019 penny with multiple strikes that reveal overlapping images of Lincoln or distorted lettering would visually demonstrate the chaos of the minting process. And visual drama plays a powerful role in value because collectors are drawn to coins that tell their story instantly, without explanation, and die breaks, cuts, and late-stage die deterioration add yet another layer of intrigue, because when a die begins to fail, metal flows into cracks or missing sections, creating raised blobs or distorted shapes on the coin, and a dramatic die break on a 2019 cent could drastically alter the appearance of the design, potentially covering Lincoln's face or parts of the legends. And if such a break occurred late in the die's life, the number of coins struck before replacement could be extremely small, creating natural scarcity. And proof coins introduce another realm of possibility, because proof cents are struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets under controlled conditions, making errors exceptionally rare. And when proof errors do occur, they are often worth many times more than similar errors on circulation strikes. And a 2019 proof penny struck on the wrong planchet, missing its copper plating, or featuring a dramatic strike-through from foreign material would be a numismatic sensation. Because proof coins are expected to be nearly flawless, and deviation from perfection dramatically increases significance. And beyond physical characteristics, the story of the 2019 1 cent is also shaped by modern market dynamics, because we now live in an era of instant communication, viral videos, online auctions, and global collector communities. And a single discovery can become world famous overnight, attracting attention not just from coin collectors but from investors, media outlets, and the general public. And when enough attention focuses on one object, perceived value can increase dramatically. And the idea of an $11 million penny captures imagination because it challenges assumptions and invites people to believe that hidden treasure might still exist in everyday life. And this belief fuels demand, and demand fuels price, and authentication plays a critical role at this level. Because for a coin to achieve such a valuation, it must be verified by trusted third-party grading services, examined under microscopes, tested for metal composition, weighed, measured, and compared against known varieties. And once experts confirm that a coin is genuine, unique, and historically significant, confidence enters the market, and confidence unlocks large sums of money. Next, 2017 P1 cent. Today on the channel where everyday coins turn into extraordinary legends and where small details unlock massive secrets. Thank you for being here, thank you for your curiosity, and thank you for being part of a community that loves discovering the hidden stories behind ordinary objects. Because today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coin mysteries ever discussed, the incredible idea that a 2017 P1 cent coin, a penny minted in Philadelphia that most people would casually spend without a second thought, could in the right circumstances be valued as high as $10 million due to a powerful combination of errors, minting mistakes, production anomalies, and rare possibilities that transform a simple cent into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure. And as we explore this story together, it is important to understand that this is not just about one coin but about how value is born from imperfection, how mistakes can become masterpieces, and how even in an era of extreme technological precision the unexpected can still slip through. because the 2017 P1 cent exists at a fascinating intersection between modern minting technology and the timeless truth that no system created by humans is ever completely flawless, and it is exactly in that narrow space between intention and accident that legendary coins are created. So let us first imagine the environment of the United States Mint in 2017, a year when the Lincoln cent was being produced in staggering quantities using some of the most advanced coin-making equipment ever designed, with digital hubs, laser-engraved dies, automated planchet feeders, high-speed presses, and rigorous quality control systems intended to catch even the smallest deviation before a coin ever reached circulation. Yet despite all this sophistication, the mint still struck billions of cents that year. And when production reaches that scale, even a microscopic error rate can result in a handful of extraordinary pieces escaping into the world, and the potential $10 million value of a 2017 penny begins with this reality, because modern errors are far rarer than those from earlier eras, and rarity in a modern context carries enormous weight. One of the most powerful possibilities behind such a valuation is a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination or metal, and in 2017 the mint was producing cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, half-dollars, dollar coins, and commemorative issues, all within overlapping production environments, and if a Lincoln cent die struck a planchet meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental alloy, the result would be an instant anomaly that should not exist according to official specifications, and such a coin would immediately stand out due to differences in weight, thickness, color, and sometimes magnetism, and once authenticated through professional metallurgical testing, a wrong planchet 2017 cent would become one of the most important modern errors ever discovered, because it would demonstrate a breakdown in a system designed specifically to prevent such mistakes, and collectors place enormous value on proof of system failure, especially in modern minting. And another extraordinary possibility involves experimental or transitional metal errors, because although the Lincoln cent has been copper-plated zinc for decades, the mint constantly researches alternative compositions due to rising material costs, and experimental planchets can exist within mint facilities for testing purposes, and if even a small number of these experimental blanks were accidentally struck with cent dies and released, the resulting coins would represent undocumented history, physical evidence of behind-the-scenes experimentation that was never meant to leave the mint, and collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for such pieces because they offer insight into decisions, processes, and possibilities that are otherwise invisible. And then there is the highly respected and extremely valuable category of double die errors, which are fundamentally different from common machine doubling, because true double dies are created during the die-making process itself when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, resulting in rounded, well-defined doubling that is part of the coin's design, and in the modern era true double dies are exceptionally rare due to improved hubbing techniques. So if a 2017 P1 cent were discovered with a dramatic double die obverse or reverse, especially with strong doubling visible on the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or Lincoln's portrait, it would immediately become a major variety, and if the error went unnoticed for years, the number of surviving examples could be extremely small, possibly even unique, and when a coin reaches that level of rarity, price becomes a matter of desire rather than reference, and collectors compete not just to own the coin but to own the story, and the story becomes even more powerful when we consider compound errors, which occur when multiple independent mistakes affect the same coin, something that is statistically extraordinary in a modern minting environment. And imagine a 2017 penny that combines a true double die with a wrong planchet strike and an off-center or broad strike error, resulting in a coin that visually and technically defies expectations. And such a piece would not just be rare, it would be essentially unique, and uniqueness is the single most powerful driver of value in collectibles, because when there is only one known example, ownership becomes exclusive, and exclusivity attracts elite collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure something no one else can have. And another legendary possibility is the existence of a mule error, one of the rarest and most dramatic mint mistakes of all, where obverse and reverse dies from two completely different coins are accidentally paired together, and while mule errors are extraordinarily rare for Lincoln cents, the few known modern mule coins prove that such mistakes are possible even in advanced systems, and a confirmed 2017 Lincoln cent mule featuring an incorrect reverse design would instantly become one of the most famous coins in existence, because it would represent a profound failure in die handling procedures, and collectors would not be buying metal or face value but the tangible proof that the impossible happened, and striking errors such as off-center strikes, multiple strikes, broad strikes, and partial collar errors add yet another layer of possibility, because while these errors alone may be relatively common, when combined with other major anomalies they become exponentially rarer. And a 2017 cent with multiple overlapping strikes that reveal distorted images of Lincoln or duplicated lettering would visually tell the story of chaos inside the minting press, and visual drama plays a powerful role in value because collectors are drawn to coins that communicate their uniqueness instantly, and die breaks, cuts, and late-stage die deterioration also contribute to the legend, because when a die begins to fail, metal flows into cracks or missing sections, creating raised blobs or distorted shapes that alter the design, and a dramatic die break on a 2017 penny could drastically change its appearance, potentially covering major design elements, and if such a die break occurred late in the die's life, the number of coins struck before replacement could be extremely small, creating natural scarcity, and proof coins add another layer of intrigue, because proof cents are struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets under controlled conditions, making errors exceptionally rare. And when proof errors do occur they are often worth many times more than similar errors on circulation strikes, and a 2017 proof penny struck on the wrong planchet, missing its copper plating, or featuring a dramatic strike-through would be a numismatic sensation, because proof coins are expected to be nearly perfect, and deviation from perfection dramatically increases significance. And beyond physical characteristics, the story of the 2017 1 cent is also shaped by modern market dynamics, because we live in an era of instant communication, viral content, online auctions, and global collector communities, and a single extraordinary discovery can become famous overnight, attracting attention not just from coin collectors but from investors, media outlets, and the general public, and when enough attention focuses on one object, perceived value can rise dramatically. And the idea of a $10 million penny captures imagination because it challenges assumptions and reinforces the belief that hidden treasure might still exist in everyday life, and this belief fuels demand, and demand fuels price, and authentication is critical at this level, because for a coin to achieve such a valuation it must be verified by trusted third-party grading services, examined under microscopes, tested for metal composition, and compared against known varieties, and once experts confirm that a coin is genuine, unique, and historically significant, confidence enters the market, and confidence unlocks large sums of money, especially from wealthy collectors who view ultra-rare coins as alternative assets similar to fine art, and the $10 million valuation also reflects potential rather than certainty, because some coins are valued based on what they could achieve if offered at auction under ideal conditions with global publicity and competitive bidding, and a truly extraordinary 2017 penny combining multiple top-tier errors could set records simply because it represents something irreplaceable. Next, 2001 1 cent coin. Today on the channel, where ordinary coins turn into extraordinary stories, where pocket change becomes hidden treasure, and where history, mystery, and money collide in the most fascinating ways imaginable. So settle in, get comfortable, and prepare to have your mind open, because today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the unbelievable tale of a 2001 1 cent coin that has been rumored, discussed, analyzed, dreamed about, and whispered among collectors as a coin so rare and so exceptional that its value has been placed as high as $13 million, a value that seems impossible for a humble penny, yet becomes strangely believable when you understand the perfect storm of errors, mistakes, mint anomalies, metal composition mysteries, die varieties, production quirks, historical timing, collector psychology, market dynamics, and sheer luck that can transform a single copper-colored disc into a life-changing artifact. And as we explore this story together, we are not just talking about one coin but about the entire philosophy of why errors matter, why mistakes sometimes create greatness, and why the smallest overlooked details can hold unimaginable worth, because the 2001 1 cent exists at the intersection of mass production and human imperfection, and that is exactly where legends are born. So imagine the year 2001, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents across multiple facilities, Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, using highly automated processes designed for speed, consistency, and efficiency, yet even the most advanced machines cannot eliminate error completely, and in that relentless high-speed environment where blank planchets are punched, fed, struck, ejected, and counted at astonishing rates, a single deviation can slip through unnoticed. And when multiple deviations stack together on a single coin, the result can be something so rare that it defies normal valuation models, and the 2001 1 cent story begins with this idea that somewhere in that sea of billions, a few coins escaped the system bearing traits that were never intended to exist, traits that collectors obsess over because they should not be there, traits that challenge official mint records, and traits that rewrite what we think we know about modern coinage. And one of the most powerful possibilities associated with the 2001 penny is the concept of a wrong planchet error, where a cent design is struck on a blank meant for a completely different denomination or even a completely different metal, and during the early 2000s the mint was transitioning between compositions, using copper-plated zinc for cents while simultaneously producing other coins on copper-nickel and other alloy planchets, and if a Lincoln cent die struck a planchet intended for a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental alloy, the resulting coin would immediately become a once-in-a-generation rarity, and if such a coin also carried additional errors like an off-center strike, broad strike, or partial collar absence, the compounding rarity would send its value skyrocketing, and collectors would not just be paying for metal and design but for the story locked inside that error, the proof that the mint's strict controls were momentarily defeated. And another layer of intrigue comes from the possibility of transitional metal errors, because although the major cent composition change occurred earlier, the mint has historically experimented with alloys, conducted tests, and sometimes accidentally released coins struck on experimental or leftover stock, and if a 2001 1 cent were discovered to be composed of an unreported alloy, such as a bronze composition closer to pre-1982 cents or a hybrid mix with unusual density and electromagnetic properties, that alone could justify astronomical valuations, especially if metallurgical testing confirmed the anomaly beyond doubt. And then there is the captivating realm of double dies, which are not simple machine doubling but true hub doubling that occurs when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, creating doubled design elements that are part of the die itself, and a strong double die obverse or reverse on a 2001 penny, especially one that escaped early detection, could be worth a fortune. And if that double die displayed dramatic separation on key design elements like the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or Lincoln's profile, it would immediately be classified as a major variety, and if only one or two examples were known, collectors would engage in fierce competition to own it, driving prices into the millions. And yet the story does not stop there, because some of the most valuable error coins ever discovered are those that combine multiple errors on a single piece, creating what experts call compound errors, and a 2001 1 cent that featured a wrong planchet strike, combined with a double die, an off-center strike, and perhaps even a rotated die alignment would be so statistically improbable that its mere existence would challenge the assumptions of probability, and collectors love impossibility because it means exclusivity, and exclusivity fuels value. And then there is the possibility of a mule error, one of the rarest and most fascinating mint mistakes of all, where obverse and reverse dies from two different coins are accidentally paired together, and although mule errors are more commonly associated with certain modern dollars and foreign coinage, the theoretical existence of a 2001 Lincoln cent mule featuring an incorrect reverse design, perhaps from a different denomination or an experimental die, would immediately become legendary, and even the rumor of such a coin is enough to ignite imaginations and speculation across the numismatic world, because mule errors represent a fundamental breakdown in mint procedure, and they are visual proof that even the most controlled environments can produce chaos, and chaos, when preserved in metal, becomes priceless. And beyond physical striking errors, the 2001 penny's potential value is also magnified by its historical context, because 2001 was a pivotal year globally, a year etched into collective memory, and coins from historically significant years often carry added emotional and symbolic weight, and when a coin from such a year also carries a remarkable error, it becomes a tangible artifact of history rather than just currency, and collectors are not just buying a coin but buying a moment in time, and this emotional connection can push valuations far beyond what metal content or mintage numbers alone would justify. And another fascinating possibility involves proof coins, because proof cents are struck with specially prepared dies and planchets for collectors, and they are subject to their own unique set of potential errors, and a 2001 proof cent struck on the wrong planchet, or with a missing clad layer, or with dramatic die polishing lines or strike-throughs from foreign material, could be worth staggering sums, particularly if the error escaped quality control and entered the market unnoticed for years. And when such a coin finally surfaces, it creates shockwaves because proof errors are expected to be nearly flawless, so when they are not, the deviation becomes far more significant than a similar error on a circulation strike. And then there is the concept of die state progression, where a die deteriorates over time, developing cracks, cuds, breaks, and other flaws, and a late-stage die break on a 2001 penny that dramatically alters the design could be extremely valuable, especially if the break creates a bold raised area that covers major portions of the coin, effectively creating a one-of-a-kind design. And if such a die break were combined with other anomalies, the result would be a cent that barely resembles a cent at all, yet remains officially minted, which is exactly the kind of contradiction collectors adore. And market dynamics play a massive role here as well, because value is not created in a vacuum, it is created when desire meets scarcity, and in the age of social media, online auctions, viral videos, and instant global communication, a single discovery can become famous overnight, drawing attention from collectors, investors, historians, and even people who have never cared about coins before. And when enough eyes focus on one object, its perceived value can increase exponentially, and the idea of a $13 million penny is powerful because it captures imagination, it challenges assumptions, and it invites everyone to check their own change, and this widespread fascination feeds back into the market, increasing demand for error coins in general and for legendary examples in particular. And another element that cannot be ignored is authentication and grading, because for a coin to reach such an extreme valuation, it must be verified by trusted third-party grading services, subjected to microscopic examination, metallurgical analysis, and comparison against known varieties, and when experts confirm that a coin is genuine, unique, and historically significant, the market responds with confidence, and confidence unlocks money, sometimes vast amounts of it, and stories circulate of collectors willing to pay whatever it takes to own the single finest or most unusual example of a particular error, not because they need it, but because they want to be part of its story, and ownership becomes a form of legacy. And the $13 million valuation also reflects the idea of potential rather than just realized sales, because many legendary coins are valued based on what they could bring if offered at auction under the right conditions, with the right publicity, and with the right bidders present. Next, 1997 1-cent coin. Today on the channel where small coins reveal massive secrets and where everyday pocket change transforms into stories of mystery, history, and unimaginable wealth. So thank you for being here, thank you for your curiosity, and thank you for sharing this journey as today we explore one of the most fascinating and mind-bending stories in the modern world of coin collecting. The incredible idea that a humble 1997 1-cent coin, something most people would never look at twice, could be worth as much as $12 million because of its errors, its mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities hidden within its metal, its strike, and its journey through the minting process. And as we go deep into this story, we are not simply talking about a single penny but about the entire universe of numismatics, where rarity is born from imperfection, where value emerges from accidents, and where history leaves behind clues in copper and zinc, because the 1997 1-cent exists at a crossroads of mass production and microscopic deviation, and it is exactly in that narrow space that legendary coins are created. So let us imagine the environment of the United States Mint in 1997, a year when billions of Lincoln cents were produced with incredible speed and efficiency, coins struck around the clock by high-pressure machines designed to be flawless and uniform. Yet no matter how advanced technology becomes, perfection is an illusion, and when you are producing billions of identical objects, even the smallest misalignment, the tiniest inconsistency, or the briefest mechanical hiccup can result in something extraordinary slipping through unnoticed. and the 1997 penny's legendary value is rooted in this reality, because it represents the idea that while most coins are identical, a few rare survivors carry the fingerprints of error that make them unique. And one of the most important possibilities behind the $12 million valuation is the concept of wrong planchet errors, where a penny design is struck on a metal blank intended for a completely different coin, and during the late 1990s the mint was producing multiple denominations simultaneously: cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, and even experimental pieces, all sharing the same facilities, conveyors, and storage systems. And if a Lincoln cent die struck a planchet meant for a dime or a foreign coin or even an experimental alloy, the result would be an immediate numismatic anomaly, a coin that should not exist according to official records, and if that wrong planchet were composed of silver, copper, nickel, or another unexpected metal, the visual, weight, and magnetic differences would be dramatic, making the coin instantly recognizable to experts and instantly desirable to collectors. And when such a coin is confirmed through metallurgical testing, its value can leap into the millions because it represents a breakdown in the mint's quality control system, and collectors are fascinated by these breakdowns because they expose the hidden vulnerabilities of an institution designed to be perfect. And another powerful possibility involves transitional composition errors, because although the major cent composition change from bronze to copper-plated zinc occurred earlier, the mint has a long history of experimenting with metals, alloys, and plating processes, and it is entirely possible that in 1997 experimental or leftover planchets existed within the production environment. And if a cent were struck on a planchet with an unusual alloy composition, perhaps containing higher copper content, trace elements, or an experimental plating thickness, it could result in a coin with unique physical properties that defy standard specifications. And when such anomalies are documented and authenticated, they become incredibly valuable because they provide physical evidence of behind-the-scenes experimentation that was never meant for public release. And then there is the captivating world of double dies, one of the most respected and sought-after error types in numismatics, because true double dies are created during the die-making process itself, not during the strike. And when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, the resulting design elements show clear, rounded doubling that is part of the coin's fabric. And a 1997 1 cent with a dramatic double die obverse or reverse, especially one that went unnoticed for years, could be worth a fortune. And if the doubling were strong on key elements like the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or Lincoln's portrait, the coin would become a major variety. And if only a handful of examples were known, intense competition among collectors could drive prices into the multi-million-dollar range, especially if the coin were in exceptional condition, because rarity plus condition is a powerful multiplier. And the story becomes even more compelling when we consider compound errors, which occur when multiple mistakes happen to the same coin, something that is statistically rare and highly prized. And imagine a 1997 penny that combines a double die with a wrong planchet strike and an off-center or broad strike error, creating a coin that visually and technically defies expectations. And such a coin would not just be rare, it would be unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value in collectibles. Because when there is only one known example, price becomes a matter of negotiation rather than reference, and the sky becomes the limit. And another extraordinary possibility is the existence of a mule error, one of the rarest mint mistakes of all, where obverse and reverse dies from two different coins are paired together. And while mule errors are extremely rare for Lincoln cents, rarity itself is what fuels imagination. And the theoretical existence of a 1997 penny with an incorrect reverse, perhaps from a different denomination or an experimental die, would instantly become legendary. And even a single confirmed example would rewrite numismatic history, because it would demonstrate a profound failure in die handling procedures, and collectors would pay extraordinary sums to own such a piece because it would represent a moment when the impossible happened. And then there is the realm of die breaks, cuds, and late-stage die deterioration, which can produce dramatic raised areas on coins where metal flows into cracks or missing sections of the die. And a severe die break on a 1997 penny that significantly alters the design could be incredibly valuable, especially if it covers major design elements and creates a bold, sculptural effect. And when such a die break appears late in the die's life, the number of coins struck before the die is retired may be very small, creating natural scarcity. And if such a coin also features other anomalies, its value increases exponentially. and proof coins add another layer of intrigue, because proof cents are struck with specially prepared dies and planchets under controlled conditions, and errors on proof coins are far less common than on circulation strikes, so when a proof error does occur, it becomes especially valuable, and a 1997 proof penny struck on the wrong planchet, missing its copper plating, or featuring dramatic strike-throughs or die anomalies would be a numismatic sensation, because proof coins are expected to be nearly perfect, and deviation from that expectation magnifies significance. And beyond physical errors, the story of the 1997 1 cent is also shaped by historical context, because coins are artifacts of their time, and the late 1990s were a period of technological transition, economic change, and increasing automation, and coins from this era represent a bridge between older minting practices and modern digital quality control systems. And when an error from this period surfaces, it highlights the limitations of even advanced technology, reminding us that no system is infallible, and this philosophical dimension adds depth to the coin story, making it more than just a curiosity, and market psychology plays a massive role in extreme valuations, because value is not solely determined by objective factors but by perception, demand, and narrative, and the idea of a $12 million penny captures public imagination, generating media attention, online discussion, and viral interest, and this attention feeds back into the market, increasing demand for error coins and rare varieties, and when demand rises faster than supply, prices can reach extraordinary levels, and authentication and grading are critical in this process, because for a coin to be valued at such a level, it must be verified by trusted experts, subjected to detailed analysis, and encapsulated by reputable grading services. And once a coin is authenticated as genuine, unique, and historically significant, it gains legitimacy that unlocks high-end buyers, including wealthy collectors and investors who view such coins as alternative assets, and in that realm, traditional price guides lose relevance, replaced by private negotiations and auction dynamics where bidders compete not just for ownership but for prestige, and the human element of discovery adds another layer of value, because stories of coins found in circulation, inherited collections, or forgotten drawers resonate deeply with people, reinforcing the idea that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, and this sense of possibility keeps interest alive, encouraging people to search, learn, and engage, and engagement itself sustains market value, and the $12 million valuation also reflects potential rather than certainty, because some coins are valued based on what they could achieve if offered under ideal conditions, with the right publicity, the right timing. Last 1995 D1 cent, today because you are about to dive into one of the most fascinating and talked about stories in modern coin collecting, a story that has captured the imagination of treasure hunters, casual change checkers, and serious numismatists alike, the unbelievable tale of a humble copper-colored coin dated 1995 with a small D mint mark that many people would normally ignore, toss into a jar, or spend without a second thought, yet according to legendary collector lore, rare error discoveries, and extraordinary hypothetical auction outcomes, this very coin has been whispered about as being worth as much as $8 million, and whether you are here out of curiosity, passion for rare coins, or the dream that a single penny in your pocket could change your life forever, stay with me because this story is not just about metal and mistakes but about how tiny errors, overlooked details, historical circumstances, and collector psychology can transform an ordinary 1 cent coin into a symbol of unimaginable value. And as we begin, imagine yourself holding a 1995 D Lincoln cent between your fingers, feeling its familiar weight, seeing Abraham Lincoln's profile staring back at you, and wondering how something so common could ever be connected to such an enormous price tag. And the answer lies in the fascinating world of minting errors, transitional anomalies, die varieties, and the rare convergence of factors that can push a coin from face value into the realm of legends. The 1995 D1 cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, and on the surface there is nothing extraordinary about this issue, as it was made primarily of copper-plated zinc, featured the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and was intended for everyday circulation. Yet history has shown again and again that it is precisely during high-volume production periods that some of the most dramatic and valuable errors can slip through unnoticed, and collectors know that Denver minted coins sometimes present unique varieties due to differences in die preparation, hubbing processes, and quality control compared to Philadelphia and San Francisco, and this is where the possibilities begin to open up. One of the most talked about potential errors associated with a 1995 D cent is the idea of a dramatic double die, particularly on the obverse, where Lincoln's inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or even the date itself might show strong doubling visible to the naked eye, and while many minor double dies exist and are worth modest premiums, a truly bold, clear, and dramatic double die on a Denver issue from this era would be exceptionally rare, especially if it somehow escaped detection for years, and if such a coin were discovered in pristine uncirculated condition with blazing luster and sharp detail, it could ignite intense competition among elite collectors who specialize in error cents, pushing the price into uncharted territory. Another powerful factor that fuels the $8 million legend is the possibility of a wrong planchet error, where a 1995 D cent could have been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different metal composition, such as a copper planchet from an earlier era, a dime planchet, or in the most extreme hypothetical scenario, a foreign planchet or experimental alloy. And if a 1995 D cent were proven to have been struck on a pure copper planchet weighing significantly more than standard, authenticated by multiple experts, and linked to a transitional or experimental mishap at the mint, it would instantly become one of the most important modern error coins ever known, because transitional errors represent moments when old and new systems collide, and collectors place enormous value on tangible evidence of these behind-the-scenes minting changes. There is also the tantalizing possibility of an off-metal strike combined with other errors, such as an off-center strike, a broad strike, or a partial collar error, and while individually these errors can be impressive, it is the stacking of multiple dramatic errors on a single coin that creates true unicorns in the numismatic world, the kind of pieces that museums want, that major auction houses feature on glossy covers, and that wealthy collectors are willing to fight over at almost any cost. And when people talk about a 1995 D penny being worth $8 million, they are often imagining a once-in-a-generation discovery that combines multiple extreme anomalies in one flawless package. Another angle that collectors discuss is the idea of a mule coin, where the obverse die and reverse die are mismatched, possibly pairing a 1995 obverse with a reverse intended for a different year, mint, or design type, and while confirmed mules are rare and difficult to authenticate, they represent some of the most valuable modern errors known, because they demonstrate a fundamental breakdown in minting procedures. And if a 1995 D cent mule were discovered that paired Lincoln's portrait with an incompatible reverse, especially one never intended to coexist with that obverse, the numismatic significance alone could justify an astronomical valuation. Die errors themselves also play a crucial role in the legend, because cracked dies, shattered dies, cuds, and retained die breaks can sometimes produce visually stunning results, and while many die breaks are common and inexpensive, a massive, dramatic die break that creates a raised blob or distorted design element across Lincoln's face or the fields of the coin, especially if it occurred early in the die's life and was struck on a limited number of coins, could elevate a single specimen into a standout rarity, and if that specimen were the best-known example with extraordinary eye appeal, it could command a premium far beyond typical price guides. The mint mark itself adds another layer of intrigue, because the small d below the date indicates Denver, and some collectors believe that certain mint mark anomalies, such as repunched mint marks or misplaced mint marks, could exist on late-date Lincoln cents despite official claims that hand-punching had ended, and if a genuine, undeniable repunched D were found on a 1995 cent with strong doubling or misalignment, it would challenge established assumptions about minting practices and instantly become a headline-making discovery. Beyond physical errors, condition and preservation play an enormous role in valuation, because a coin with spectacular errors but heavy wear or damage will never reach its full potential, whereas a coin that looks as if it were struck yesterday, with full original luster, razor-sharp details, and no signs of circulation, becomes exponentially more desirable. And when collectors imagine an $8 million 1995 D penny, they are envisioning a coin graded at the highest levels by top third-party grading services, encapsulated, documented, and celebrated as the finest known example of its kind. Provenance also matters deeply in the world of ultra-high-end collectibles, because a coin with a compelling story, such as being discovered in a roll by an ordinary person, held secretly for years, and then revealed to the world, captures public imagination in a way that drives demand beyond rational limits. And if a 1995 error cent were to emerge with a dramatic backstory, complete with expert authentication, media coverage, and a debut at a major auction, the narrative itself could add millions to the hammer price. It is also important to understand that when people talk about a coin costing $8 million, they are often referring not to a guaranteed price but to the theoretical upper end of what might be possible under perfect conditions, with multiple wealthy bidders, global attention, and the belief that the coin represents a once-in-history opportunity, because in the rare coin market, value is not just about metal and mistakes, it is about desire, scarcity, timing, and competition, and when all of those forces align, prices can soar to levels that seem unbelievable to outsiders. The psychology of collectors cannot be underestimated, because some collectors are driven by the need to own the best, the rarest, or the only example, and when a coin is perceived as unique or irreplaceable, price becomes secondary to prestige, and this is how seemingly impossible valuations become reality, at least in theory. The 1995 penny legend is also fueled by the broader cultural fascination with finding treasure in everyday life, the idea that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight, and this emotional appeal keeps people searching through jars, rolls, and pocket change, hoping to stumble upon the next great discovery, and every time a new error coin makes headlines, it reinforces the belief that the impossible is possible. Even though most 1995 cents are worth only face value or a small premium, the possibility that one extraordinary specimen could exist keeps the dream alive, and in the world of collectibles, dreams are powerful drivers of value. When experts evaluate a coin rumored to be worth millions, they scrutinize every detail, from weight and diameter to metal composition and microscopic die markers, and authentication is critical because the higher the claimed value, the higher the level of skepticism, and only a coin that survives intense examination by multiple authorities can achieve legendary status. The $8 million figure often cited in discussions about a 1995 penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what such a coin could be worth if it embodied the most extreme errors imaginable, combined with flawless condition, undeniable authenticity, and a market environment primed for record-breaking sales.